All right, guys, and welcome. This is going to be our first episode of the I Live conversation series. I'm the host, Adrian Conway, as you guys know, or maybe you don't know. I'm the co-founder of F&X. We started our brand back in 2017, and we have got the unique opportunity to have ambassadors for our company. They get to be the voice, the face, and essentially bring the lifestyle to the brand that we've created. And through this show and through these conversations, our goal is for us to get more of an intimate view of each other, get to know who we are and exactly how we're living and what it means to live in victory every day. I am joined here by none other than Lord Milán Wazoo. And Lord kind of caught me off guard. He was like, yeah, that's my official title. And I was curious about what Lord meant or how that happened. So Milán, I'm gonna dive right in, and I'm curious can you elaborate on the Lord part just before we get going officially?
Yeah, the Lord is a title that I got from the UK government about 3 years ago when we were doing a ancestry kind of lookup for my dad, who grew up in an orphanage. And turns out that his mother was the last in the noble bloodline that came to the States. And I did some submission to the UK government to verify the records, and they were like, yeah, you inherited this castle in Garstang, England, and some property, and got a lordship ring and a title. So apparently I'm a part of a Disney story I never knew.
That is pretty amazing, and what a way to kick off our interview today. Milán, I reached out to you because you shared something very special, and I think it was truly inspiring on our Facebook group. So clearly, as I was kind of looking for potential ambassadors to engage this way, I was curious about your story, and so I wanted to know more. And that kind of goes into, you know, what you're going to share with us in regards to, you've got a story about literally breaking your neck, and I don't know many people who have had to overcome such a trial. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. Can you elaborate on, exactly what happened and how long ago it was?
Well, it was just before my 17th birthday in 2000, and I was up north in Michigan at a friend of a friend's cabin and setting up and everything, hot day right before the 4th of July. And I went to dive into the lake at the end of the boat dock, and where I landed turned out to be just 36 inches. So I dove in head first, of course, and ripped my right shoulder and shoulder blade out of socket, and then landed on top of my head. The good thing is I was a big athlete at the time. I was about 6'2", 184. Played football and track, so that muscle really saved my life. And yeah, I was buoyant in the water for a while, about 30 seconds before somebody pulled me out. And then that's when the break actually happened and the pain started. Thankfully, I didn't lose consciousness, so that, kept me a little bit more stable. And after that, I did a surgery, and they did a C4, C5 fusion on those vertebrae, put a metal plate in there, and I was in a halo in the hospital for about 6 months. And then they said that I would never have any feeling or movement below my collarbone. And I looked at the doctor then and said, I won't say exactly what I said, but it was along the lines of, forget that, I have stuff to do. And I didn't know exactly how I was going to do it, but I just knew that I would. And yeah, I've been battling back ever since. And I probably have about 85, 90% of my body back. Feeling head to toe. I'm doing squats and just started walking last year with some help. And working out is not just a part of my life. It's really who I am, and it's made me a better person.
Wow. Milán, that's powerful, man. And I'm going to be honest with you, even just hearing the way that you responded to the doctor in like the face of that adversity or that bad news, which would probably, crumble a lot of people, or, at least make them step back and have almost self-pity for a moment, if not for an elongated period through their lives. You immediately were like, that's not going to be me. You know, forget that. I've got stuff to do. And maybe not the direct
Yeah.
words. Can you, was there any time of doubt? Was there any time of like, were you, did you experience any of that struggle, or was it always that determination?
I think initially, partly because I was 17 and I had that 17-year-old football player swag of like, I'm unstoppable, like, and I never imagined that it would last almost 20 years now, this journey to walk again. I figured, a few weeks, let me get out the hospital, or even a few months, and then I'll be good. But people kept trying to convince me that it was okay to be depressed. And what I understand as depression is that's anger turned inward. And I was like, no, like I'm just going to be, use that anger, use that fuel, use that determination, and just go for it. Um, I had started physical therapy right away before I could even pick my own arms up, just trying to do anything that I could. And I'm a faithful person. And at the time, I had somewhat walked away from Christianity, was, kind of doing my own thing. But while I was in the hospital, within that first week, I had kind of an outer body experience where I felt like Jesus was at the foot of my bed and just talking to me casually, like we're doing, and said, "Hey, man, like you'll walk again if you choose to follow me, but you're going to have to lose your pride. You're going to have to redo everything. And just so you know, I'm going to make you a spectacle so that everything counts. Your words count more, your actions count more, but you'll be good." And I said, okay. So I knew my life was going in a negative direction outside of the sports world at the time. So really, because everything was taken from me, I had nothing to lose. So it was actually a good jump off point. So I've never really been down. I never really had the depression or anything. It's hard. Don't get me wrong. It was a lot of lonely nights and whatnot, but it weeded out a lot of the negativity. It weeded out the negative people, and I got really close with my family. My dad's a Marine, so he was real supportive and telling me, push through that pain. And yeah, I've gotten a lot of great opportunities because of it.
Wow, man. I love it. I love it. And I mean, honestly, I'm encouraged beyond probably more than you understand, and even more than I'll probably be able to express through this audio or video recording. I appreciate you sharing all that, and it's certainly something that I think anyone can admire, whether we've had those kind of obstacles in our way or not, whether we've struggled in a similar way or in a different avenue. I think we can all relate to, a lot of times, especially if we're faith driven, to needing that connection with God, or even that out of body experience that you express there, or describe it. It puts me in awe, to be honest with you, right? Like it's not something that I've ever quite experienced, and I feel such a connection to my spirituality and Jesus Christ and God in general. And so to have something like that, and to have that cemented like in such a pivotal point of your life, especially, I can't imagine um, the way that was able to spur you along, and even that being probably a point where you could constantly reference when times did get hard, like, hey, I knew this was coming. God did tell me that this is the way that it would go, but there was going to be challenges, or that I did have to commit, or that I did have to lose my pride. And I find that pretty amazing, and probably pretty trying for you, man, at 17 years old to hear that. Cause it's like, how it is, and you shared this, but that pride is like, that's our number one
Right.
limitation a lot of times as a young man.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think losing my pride was like the first hard step. I was prepared for the physical aspect of it, the pain and, the journey and the hard work and whatnot, because I'd been used to doing that for over a decade with sports. But I wasn't prepared for the ego hit and the pride, because I went from, being 6'4", tallest guy in the room, biggest guy in the room, to sitting in a wheelchair at about 4 feet tall, now looking up at everybody and having to rediscover my voice, and having to mend relationships with my family because I had to lean on them.
Okay.
um,
Milan's on his
but
next
it really
leg.
awoke something in me, so that I
Okay.
was hearing,
That
like the
mustard.
Bible talks about, that still small voice that's in the back of your head, guiding you, and telling you to do the things that you don't want to do necessarily, and say sorry and make amends, and grow in that aspect. But it was the catalyst for the things that I needed to come. And I think with everything being so vivid and so in your face, it was easy to rely on those things and remember where I am and what I want. And just that, I mean, it's been almost 20 years now, and it seems like that went by in a blur, but the things that I've done in the meantime have been so valuable.
Yeah, man. I love it. I love it. And I appreciate your story so much. So one of the things, of course, I've got 5 questions that I want to dive into with you. But even I want you to fast forward and kind of catch us up now. Like, what are you doing now? You share with me that you're a father, so you got some family. Yeah, I mean, you just did some. You described to me some language or linguistics that you just specialized in, to help educate me on some words that I was throwing around. So you tell us what you got going on, and what's new in your life. What have you kind of got going on around you?
Well, I think it was about 5, 6 years ago that I just decided that, you know what, the whole Renaissance man it sounds really cool. So what if I just went for everything, that all the desires that I had? So in the last year, I've gotten a master's degree in Spanish linguistics. I've gotten business partners in New York and London to start a motivational philosophy called Day One. I'm officially a year and a half into my clothing brand that's called Donia Design House, and we use clothing to empower women. So even the name is a name that refers to a woman that's a female leader. And we use part of those proceeds to support women's charities. And on top of that, I just got married last year. I got a few kids now. I got a new house. I'm just walking for the first time in 18 and a half years. And yeah, that's my day to day.
Yeah, man. Hey, Milan, you share that like it's just nothing, for you, it's just another casual year that's gone by. To me, as you describe that, man, that sounds like a lifetime of hard work that's kind of moving into fruition, and it's really inspiring and encouraging to hear. So, um, wow, it's just, your story is remarkable. Your mindset and even your outlook and attitude towards life, is even more impressive, I believe. And I'm sure, and I'm sure that hopefully you see this in yourself as well. But looking back, I can almost imagine that was really your rock, if you will. A lot of things going on externally, physically with your body, but your mind and your soul seem to be a lot of what we're able to push you through and bring you to where you are now. Congratulations, man.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it seemed like at the time, losing my body was the worst thing that could happen. But it really, I see now how it was the best thing, because the only thing that I was left with was my thoughts and my words. That
Yep.
was the only thing that I could move, was my mouth, and that's the only thing I could control was my thoughts. So it really kept me from doing the wrong thing, and then going within to like have that mental toughness and to use my words and just to say the things that I want. And it turns out that you plant those seeds long enough, and now I'm in that stage where it's like it's harvest time. And I'm seeing all that hard work start to pay off in a big way.
I love it, man. That's amazing. Well, with that being said, let's go ahead and transition into these 5 questions, and some of them might overlap. So, if you feel like we're revisiting some of these key aspects of your life that we've already gone over, no, nothing wrong with that. You don't need to, find a new answer. But question one, what made you become an FNX ambassador, and what are one or two of your favorite supplements?
Well, I saw the brand. There's a few brand ambassadors like Brooke Ants and Camille that are into CrossFit. And I think about 4 years ago is when I discovered CrossFit. And just like the versatility of the movements and whatnot, I had to modify some just because I'm in a chair
Sure.
still. But it seemed like that was what really gave my body a big jump start. Um, so right after that, and I really liked I didn't know what FNX, the whole story behind it at the time, a few years ago when I discovered it, but I really like, the Phoenix aspect,
Yeah.
rising from the ashes and giving real meaning in that hardship. So I started with the pre-workout powder, and I was just hoping that one, that it gave me a good boost, but that the flavor was pretty good. Because I tend to mainline it sometimes, scoop right to the mouth and then chug a bit of water,
Yeah.
and like, all right, 10 minutes, and then like I can hit the gym. So, but now I'm into the whey protein because I'm trying to um, build weight and build muscle, because I'm moving a lot, I'm doing a whole lot, so I need to have that sustainable energy. So yeah, I'm using the pre-workout on the regular, and then the sea salt caramel protein now. which is nice.
Awesome. Yeah, you got that salted caramel. And I know even in our conversation before, you mentioned that you had purchased the products a few years ago and then didn't become an ambassador until what, a little over a year ago. So I think that also, I mean, hopefully that speaks to your enjoyment of the products. You know, it was something that you just were trying for the first time, and then eventually you're like, okay, this brand, it's something that I want to be a part of. I consider that an honor. It's, you know, especially with someone like yourself. I think it's great for you from an outside in perspective. Just make the decision like, okay, I'm already buying these products. I might as well buy them at a discount and be a part of the community.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I mean, always trying to get as many benefits as possible with what I'm doing. But I mean, it really like just from seeing the the athletes and how other people talk about the brand and then seeing the Facebook community, I like that that's all built into the ambassadorship. So it's like you're not just, a name on a board somewhere, but you're actually a part of something. So I really like that people share their stories and just feel comfortable to share your own on the Facebook, especially. So it's nice.
Awesome, man. That's one of my favorite aspects as well. Just hopping on there anytime throughout the day, seeing what people post about their life, about their story. Usually, it's enough motivation to get you through any kind of grind you got. So it's a great place. Question two: growing up, what was one of the biggest obstacles that you faced?
I grew up down south in Virginia, and one of the big things, it was still, unfortunately, like segregation and racism was a big thing. And I'm coming from a mixed race household. My dad is English and French, and then my mom's family is from Guinea, West Africa. So it's not the most popular combo in the South in the early 80s when I was born. My parents' marriage actually was still unrecognized until about 85, and I was born in 83.
Wow.
So it was kind of a legal situation. They got by because my dad was in the Marine Corps, so it's like they had that protection from the government at the time, that sanction. But people, definitely made their feelings known, and it made me feel a bit like, where do I belong, kind of thing. But my family was really supportive and really close knit. So getting into sports and getting into being physical and just challenging my body from a young age, it really helped give me that center that I needed.
I love that, man. That's pretty amazing. And I, you know, it's I also am from a biracial marriage. My father's white, my mom's black. Grew up in Pennsylvania, central Pennsylvania. Um, and so, I experienced a little bit of what you're saying. Completely different world than Southern Virginia, though. However, right? Like, and as an adult, I even recognize the differences and kind of where the lines are drawn in the United States and where things were a little bit more volatile or violent or even more discrimination versus somewhere a little bit further north that might have a different scenario. I appreciate you sharing that, man. In regards to that, growing up, then how you mentioned sports being a catalyst for you, was that kind of like a common ground for you to make friends? Like how did you really live that out growing up in that kind of atmosphere?
Yeah, it seemed like sports was like the ultimate like unifier, and it just made us all equal. Like whatever coach told us to do, that's what we did. And it would be kids bust from like other parts of town or other neighborhoods around that I would not necessarily even know. So it put us all in the same playing field. And then like when we're in school, you had this diverse group of guys that you just knew. So it really opened up my world. And I knew then that I just loved being physical. I loved running. I loved, getting strong. I loved, challenging my body, and fell in love with that at a very young age.
I love it. I love it. Okay, question three. Who is someone that you look up to or looked up to and why?
I definitely look up to my dad, and I can say that like with pride and confidence now. There was a while in between, I don't know, like age like 12 to 16, 17 when my injury happened, that our relationship wasn't too good. It was when we moved from Virginia to Michigan, and I blamed him for a lot of stuff, this and that, but he was always there for me, always supportive, always a good dad. And then, when I needed him the most after my injury, he was right there. And I always saw him, he's like that G.I. Joe growing up, being in the Marines. and being tough and whatnot, but also, being real and being like a real father. Um, and the things that he's been able to accomplish in his lifetime. He grew up, in and out of an orphanage, dirt poor, in the Ohio Valley, and then, moved to rural Indiana as a young kid and just kind of bounced around with stepfathers and things like that. And once he got into the military, he really changed his whole world and became, stable, became a father, the first homeowner in his family, the first person to go to college in his family. And he's just been able to accomplish so much in just one lifetime, one generation.
That's amazing, man. I mean, hey, that's what heroes are made of, right? Like they have their own obstacles in themselves, and then they're able to kind of, find their way through those obstacles, and then be able to be, um, I guess, a base almost for someone like yourself, being that it's his son. I think it's always amazing when I hear someone that's able to share that their parent, their mother, their father, their grandparents, someone that's that intimately involved in their life is someone that you looked up to, or your hero, if you will. Just because a lot of times we get to see that raw side, and you know how that goes. It's like you get to see that raw side of someone, and sometimes you might think lesser of them, or only in certain circumstances you see the light really shine. So I think it's really amazing, and a tribute to who your father was or is in your life, that allows you to kind of mention him and tell that side of him for sure. Um, cool. Question 4. This is where we really get to tie in what the Phoenix is. And I know you alluded to this earlier with the branding, but the Phoenix is the story, and each of us have our own, that moment in time. For some of us, it's several moments. We're always going to have these future moments coming, certainly. But it's the time where that Phoenix kind of dies and rises from its own ashes. And so, Milan, what is your Phoenix moment in your life, if there's one that you care to share over others?
I mean, just because it shaped so much of my life as I grew up, I would definitely say when my spinal cord injury happened.
Yeah.
Like I was definitely on another trajectory outside of sports that was very negative, and I felt like that had to die in order for me to become who I'm supposed to be and to be able to, have a life of value. So, now I can see how it was so worth it and it was so necessary. And, like they say, even gold is put under the fire to purify it,
Absolutely.
So you have to have those flames. And Spanish poet of mine, he says that, he calls them the flames of love because it burns off all the negativity and what you don't need. But like it definitely, I rose from that, and it's people counted me out, and doctors, surgeons, even some people that were close to me never thought that that my body would recover, or that like I would be able to have that fullness of life. But I definitely have, and like I've never looked back. So there's been other hardships that have come after that, and failed relationships or jobs or whatnot. But definitely that's the big moment.
Amazing. And what a story. And I had a feeling clearly that we were going to kind of go back and go over that moment. Of course, when I read it, I was like, man, I don't know if it gets bigger than this. So I think that that's probably what he's going to share. But yeah, what a strong pivot point. And it seems that if that truly was that platform that allowed you to build what essentially has become the rest of your life. So I think that's amazing. Um, okay. So question 5 is, from where you're at in your life now, you're a husband, you're a father, you're an entrepreneur, you're pursuing all these things. What does it mean for you to live in victory every day?
It's definitely for me being a co-creator with God. Not just leaving my life up to chance or luck or all these other things that we rely on or look for, but knowing that I'm powerful, and that I have the choice to create the world as I see fit. And that victory is just being able to overcome like my own inertia or my own doubt, or even it's 7 a.m. and I don't feel like working out, but I know if I do, it'll make the rest of the day better,
That's right.
kind of thing. And it's yeah, just that, like that daily choice to be the best version of myself.
That's amazing, man. I appreciate you sharing that, and I really, really respect and admire your ability to even, articulate it in a way that, you're co-writing it with God. And I think that's really special because it's easy for us to get our own ambitions and, our personal perspectives as priority, and a lot of times forgetting to tie in the big man upstairs. So I appreciate you. I appreciate your perspective. Milan, I appreciate your time. I appreciate all that you've been able to share with us. And more so than anything, man, I love having you as an ambassador. Clearly, I saw your post. It encouraged and inspired me. I was like, I got to find out more about this guy.
Yeah.
Can you tell some of the people that might have listened to this episode where are some places that they can find you? Is there a website, that you would like for them to visit and check out maybe some things you have going on, even with the women empowerment clothing brand or anything like that?
Yeah, the easiest way is Instagram, because everything, kind of feeds off of that, because Facebook owns the world apparently. But yeah, my Instagram handle is simply I am Lord Milan. And, there's links right there for my clothing company and some of the motivational stuff that I'm doing. Because I really believe that the book that I wrote is called Drops, and it stands for Daily Real Optimistic Power Statements. And there's a link to that on the Instagram, but it's on Amazon. And I believe that those little tidbits of drops, those little tidbits of motivation and questions that I asked myself and that came to me over the last 20 years have served me. And now I really believe that they'll serve other people. So more people that check that out, and the better. I think we're all better. We didn't get to where we were all at once. We got there at a drop at a time. So my book, Drops, fits right in there to get us all better a drop at a time. Mix that with a little pre-workout powder and you're good to go.
Hey, there you go. Look at that. A little recharge while you're reading Drops. Listen, you guys are going to have an amazing day if you mix those two things together, and it's going to put you on a good trajectory. I love it. Well, Milan, thank you so much. Guys, if you're listening to this, continue to share with us on the Facebook group. Engage Milan if you enjoyed listening to his story. Show him some love. Check out Drops. I'll definitely be doing that myself. And just remember, guys, we're trying to create community. We want to share your stories while we create a great product line. And that's, of course, our priority. We understand that our brand has told an amazing story, and you guys are the ones telling it out there in the real world. So we want to get to know you better. Share yourselves with us. And remember, our goal is not just to rise up, but it's to rise together.